"It wasn't me. I swear on my life, on the memory of my children." Donna Ilara's desperate cry echoed through the courtroom, but the walls seemed deaf, and the eyes of young Judge Sophia, fixed on the overwhelming evidence, did not waver. Conviction was imminent. The old woman seemed doomed to an unjust fate, until, amidst the tense silence, a winged shadow plunged from above, a majestic raven with an unsettling glint in its eyes, falling like an arrow towards the center of the jury. And what it brought with it shook the foundations of justice forever. The raven's precise flight, almost defiant, ended with a soft but impactful landing right at the feet of Prosecutor Almeida, who was about to deliver his closing statements. A murmur of astonishment swept through the gallery, mixing with the stunned silence. Judge Sophia, with a serious and concentrated expression, raised an eyebrow, her heart racing. Her eyes, which had previously weighed Donna Ilara's fate, now fixed on the bird and the small object it had deposited. Donna Ilara, sitting in the defendant's dock, hands trembling, eyes teary, watched the scene with a mixture of dread and a tiny spark of hope. The raven seemed to look directly at her, a silent understanding that only she, in her simplicity, seemed to grasp. A solitary tear rolled down her wrinkled face, but this time it was not just of sadness. Prosecutor Almeida, an impeccable man, was visibly disturbed. He looked at the raven, which remained motionless, and then at the shining object on the floor. It was an antique locket made of darkened metal with delicate carvings. With a hesitant gesture, he bent down, picking it up with his fingertips, as if fearing to burn himself. The small object was surprisingly heavy. Turning it over, he noticed an almost invisible clasp. Sophia, from her bench, felt a strange premonition, the pressure of the case. The public outcry for a swift conviction all seemed to dissipate before that surreal scene. She cleared her throat, her voice sounding firmer than she felt. "Prosecutor Almeida, what is that?" Almeida, still intrigued, tried to open the locket. With a soft click, the two halves separated, revealing not an old photograph but a tiny card, a micro SD card. The prosecutor paled, his eyes wide. Fixing on the almost imperceptible object, he held it between his thumb and forefinger, the silence in the room becoming almost unbearable. Judge Sophia felt a shiver. This was no ordinary incident. She leaned slightly forward, professional curiosity mixing with the growing feeling that something extraordinary was about to happen. Her lips tightened. "Prosecutor, please examine the content." Almeida, hands still trembling, but his mind already processing the implications, nodded. He knew that the small object could change the course of everything. The raven, having fulfilled its mission, gave Donna Ilara one last look, and with a silent beat of its wings flew upwards, disappearing through the open courtroom window, leaving behind a trail of mystery and a promise of truth. Everyone's breath was suspended. Donna Ilara closed her eyes, a silent prayer on her lips. She didn't understand, but she felt that a greater force had intervened. Justice, which seemed so distant perhaps, was just waiting for the right messenger. Young Judge Sophia felt the weight of responsibility. That small card, in a world of fabricated evidence, could be the sole voice of truth. Prosecutor Almeida, with the micro SD card between his fingers, felt a cold sweat trickle down his temple. His eyes, once confident, now danced between Judge Sophia and the small object that seemed to contain a universe of uncertainties. He knew that the technology present there was not something that could be ignored. Judge Sophia, noticing the prosecutor's hesitation, raised her voice, cutting through the heavy silence of the room. "Prosecutor Almeida, we need to examine the content. Do we have the means to do so?" Her question, though professional, carried an urgency that did not go unnoticed. It was as if the courtroom itself held its breath, awaiting the unfolding of that unusual scene. Almeida, regaining his composure, nodded. Yes, Your Honor. We have a card reader in my office, or we can use the equipment from the evidence room. He gestured to one of the assistants, a young intern who seemed as shocked as the rest of the audience. Bring the reader and a monitor, please, urgently. The pale intern ran to obey the order, his footsteps echoing in the corridor. Donna Ilara, in the defendant's dock, clasped her wrinkled hands. Her eyes, which had previously reflected only resignation, now shone with a faint, almost imperceptible light. A fragile hope, like the flame of a candle in a gale, began to ignite in her chest. She looked at Sophia, at the young judge's serious and thoughtful expression, and felt an unexpected connection. Perhaps, just perhaps, justice still had a path for her. The wait for the equipment seemed an eternity. The murmurs in the room increased, but were quickly silenced by stern looks from the security guards. Sophia, for her part, tried to remain calm, but her heart beat erratically. The responsibility of ensuring a fair trial weighed on her shoulders, and that micro SD card represented a twist she could not have imagined. She thought of the pressure of the case, of public opinion already formed, and felt the internal dilemma: follow what seemed obvious or thoroughly investigate this new and mysterious clue. Her eyes, previously focused on the law, now sought the truth, however improbable it might be. When the intern returned, carrying a small card reader and a tablet, all eyes turned to him. Almeida took the reader and, with steady hands, inserted the tiny card. The tablet screen lit up, and a video file appeared. The prosecutor looked at the judge, a mixture of apprehension and determination on his face. "Your Honor, it's ready." Sophia nodded, her voice a firm whisper. "Display it for everyone. Let the truth, whatever it may be, come to light." She knew that this moment could define not only Donna Ilara's fate, but also her own understanding of justice. The silence in the room was absolute, every person present holding their breath, as Prosecutor Almeida touched the play icon, and the tablet screen illuminated with the first images of a revelation that promised to shake the foundations of that court. Ilara's hope, once fragile, now pulsed with renewed strength, and the young judge felt she was about to witness something that would change her perspective forever. A new dawn. The tablet screen lit up, and the image, initially grainy, soon stabilized. The face of a middle-aged man appeared, with fine features and a gaze that, up close, revealed a strange mixture of arrogance and nervousness. It was Mr. Vasconcelos, an influential and well-known city official, recognized for his impeccable posture and his ever-present smile at social events. The murmur that had previously filled the room transformed into a deathly silence. The man's voice, recorded in a low, almost conspiratorial tone, began to speak. I need to confess. I can't bear the weight of this anymore." His voice faltered, and he swallowed hard. "It was I who set everything up, the artifacts. I diverted them to cover a hole in the City Hall accounts, and I needed a scapegoat. Donna Ilara was the perfect victim. Fragile, isolated, without resources to defend herself. No one would believe her." A wave of shock swept through the courtroom. The jurors, previously with stern expressions, now displayed looks of disbelief and horror. Sophia's eyes widened. She felt a chill run down her spine, a cold sensation that everything she believed in was being undone. The image of Donna Ilara, so vulnerable, so desperate, flashed through her mind. How could she have been so blind? Donna Ilara, in the defendant's dock, brought her hands to her mouth, stifling a sob. The tears, which had previously been of sadness and despair, were now an overwhelming mixture of relief and indignation. Her fragile body trembled, but not from fear, but from a deep emotion that seemed to cleanse her soul. She looked at Sophia, and the young judge felt the weight of that gaze, a mixture of gratitude and the pain of an innocence almost destroyed. Prosecutor Almeida, pale, took a step back. His face, once confident, was now marked by deep shame. The naked truth exposed not only Vasconcelos's corruption, but also the fallibility of the judicial system he represented. The meticulous fabrication of evidence, the false witnesses, everything unraveled before everyone's eyes. The video continued, with Vasconcelos detailing how the artifacts were moved and how the evidence was planted in Donna Ilara's house. Using a network of accomplices, he threatened to expose if anything went wrong. I paid people to testify against her, to find the pieces in her basement. I made it seem like she was selling them on the black market. It was all to divert attention from me, from my embezzlements. She is not to blame for anything. She is a good, honest woman. I destroyed her. Vasconcelos's voice became a hoarse whisper, laden with belated and forced guilt. The silence in the room was broken by a growing murmur of indignation. People in the gallery began to stand up, some pointing at the tablet, others at the prosecutor. Judge Sophia, her mind in a whirlwind, struck the gavel forcefully, a dry sound that echoed through the room, demanding order. Her eyes, previously fixed on the screen, now swept the room, absorbing the magnitude of the revelation. What she had considered irrefutable truth crumbled before her, replaced by a cruel and manipulated reality. Justice, which she had sworn to defend, had been perverted in a way she never imagined. The transformation in her heart began at that instant, an awakening to the complexity of truth and the fragility of evidence. She knew she needed to act, not just to correct a mistake, but to reaffirm faith in justice itself. The sound of Sophia's gavel resonated, a call to order that for an instant seemed to suspend the growing chaos. The murmurs ceased, and the gazes, previously dispersed in indignation, fixed on her. The young judge, her face serious and her eyes moist with contained emotion, felt the weight of her robe on her shoulders, no longer as a symbol of power, but of immense and transformative responsibility. The truth, brought by a raven and revealed by a tiny card, had dismantled the certainties she had built on the cold logic of the law. The ambition that had driven her now transformed into a burning thirst for righteousness. Her eyes met Donna Ilara's. The elderly woman, still trembling, had her face bathed in tears, but a fragile, pure smile blossomed on her wrinkled lips. It was a smile of relief, yes, but also of a silent strength that Sophia had never perceived. At that instant, the barrier between defendant and judge crumbled, and a deep human connection was established. Sophia felt Ilara's pain as if it were her own, the injustice burning in her own chest. "Order in this court!" Sophia's voice, though choked, echoed with renewed authority. "In light of the irrefutable evidence presented, this court declares the immediate suspension of Donna Ilara's trial." A wave of sighs swept through the room, followed by restrained applause that Sophia quickly silenced with a firm gesture. "More than that," she continued, her voice gaining strength, "a warrant is issued for the arrest of Mr. Vasconcelos on charges of embezzlement of public funds, misrepresentation, and criminal association, with the aggravating factor of incriminating an innocent person." Prosecutor Almeida, who until then seemed petrified, finally moved. His shoulders slumped and he lowered his head, shame etched into every fiber of his being. He had been deceived, manipulated, and the image of his professional integrity was in tatters, now exposed to all. However, upon hearing Sophia's firm words, a glimmer of determination appeared in his eyes. This was the moment to correct the error, to restore faith in the justice he had sworn to defend. He raised his head, a lump in his throat, and nodded to the judge, a gesture of recognition and acceptance of the new reality. Donna Ilara, feeling the weight of injustice slowly being removed from her shoulders, closed her eyes again, allowing tears of gratitude to wash away the grievances. She didn't need words. Sophia's gaze, The tone of her voice, the courageous decision, all spoke for themselves. That raven, the improbable messenger, had brought more than evidence. It had brought the hope of a new beginning, not only for her, but for justice itself. Sophia observed the room, the crowd still in shock, but now with a glimmer of hope in their eyes. This was not the end, but the beginning of a long journey to unravel the entire web of corruption. She knew she would face challenges, pressures, and perhaps even threats. But the image of Donna Ilara, the strength in her fragility, would be her guide. Ilara's case would not just be a legal precedent, it would be a testament to the human capacity to overcome darkness, to find truth where least expected, and to reaffirm that justice at times chooses the most unexpected paths to manifest itself. The young judge felt a renewed purpose, a flame ignited in her heart that promised to illuminate the darkest corners of corruption, starting there, in that courtroom, where an elderly woman's innocence had been almost crushed. Her inner voice whispered that true justice was much more than the blind application of the law. It was the incessant search for truth, no matter how improbable its messenger. Sophia's inner voice, whispering about true justice, reverberated in her mind as she observed the courtroom, now a whirlwind of contained emotions. The young judge, her face still marked by surprise and the pain of the revelation, stood up, her slender figure gaining an imposing stature. Her eyes, which had once shone with the light of the law, now reflected a deeper understanding, the flame of a purpose that transcended codes and articles. She felt that justice was not just a scale, but a pulsating heart, capable of feeling the pain and hope of every human being. Court officers, please escort Donna Ilara out of the room. She is free. Sophia's voice, though still a little choked, carried a clarity and authority that silenced the last murmurs. Two officers approached Donna Ilara, who was still seated, her wrinkled hands covering her face in a mixture of disbelief and relief. Upon hearing Sophia's words, she slowly lowered her hands, her tear-filled eyes meeting the judge's. A fragile smile, almost a whisper of joy, blossomed on her lips. She gave a small nod, a silent gesture of gratitude that deeply touched Sophia. The connection between them, born of adversity and the search for truth, seemed palpable. Prosecutor Almeida, head bowed, felt the weight of his own failure. Shame was a heavy cloak, but Sophia's words, her firmness in correcting the error, ignited a new determination in him. He raised his gaze, his eyes meeting the judge's. Your Honor, I assure you that Mr. Vasconcelos will be promptly located and apprehended. We will immediately initiate a full investigation into everyone involved in this plot. We will spare no effort to uncover every detail and ensure that all culprits are held accountable. His voice, once arrogant, now sounded with renewed humility and commitment. It was the beginning of his own redemption, a step towards restoring his faith in justice. Sophia nodded, a slight inclination of her head in acknowledgement. I hope so, prosecutor. The credibility of our justice system depends on it. She looked at the jurors, whose faces still expressed perplexity and indignation. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I thank you for your presence and patience. This case, though painful, served as a reminder that truth at times manifests in the most unexpected ways. I ask you to take with you the lesson that justice requires constant vigilance and an open heart to what life presents us. As Donna Ilara was gently led out, her steps light, almost floating, Sophia felt a lump in her throat. The image of the elderly woman, whose life was almost destroyed by a cruel lie, was etched into her soul. Ilara's fragility, combined with her silent resilience, inspired the judge to go further. Donna Ilara's case was not just a legal process, it was a calling, an awakening to the need for a more humane justice, more attentive to the voices that the system often silences. The courthouse corridors, previously silent, now buzzed with the news of the turnaround. Reporters and curious onlookers crowded together, their whispers turning into shouts of surprise and indignation. Sophia knew that the journey to dismantle Vasconcelos's corruption network would be long and arduous. There would be pressures, perhaps threats, but the sight of Donna Ilara leaving the courtroom with a glimmer of hope in her eyes was the force that propelled her. She felt that her ambition, once focused on personal success, had transformed into a burning desire to serve the community, to be the voice of the voiceless. That raven, the improbable messenger, had not only freed an innocent, it had freed justice itself, opening the eyes of a young judge to the complexity and beauty of truth. Sophia knew that her life and her career would never be the same. The new dawn she had felt in the previous chapter now unfolded into a clear day, full of challenges, but also of unwavering purpose. Sophia knew that her life and her career would never be the same. The new dawn she had felt in the previous chapter now unfolded into a clear day, full of challenges, but also of unwavering purpose. She remained seated for a moment, her hands resting on the bench, her gaze fixed on the void, as if she could still see the raven and the locket. The room was almost empty now, only a few court officials tidying papers, their movements slow and thoughtful. The silence, once oppressive, now seemed filled with a new energy, a promise of change. Prosecutor Almeida approached, his steps hesitant. He stopped before Sophia's bench, his head still slightly bowed. "Your Honor," he began, his voice hoarse, I don't know what to say. I was so blind. I believed the evidence, the appearances. My faith in justice was shaken, but your courage in seeking the truth, even in the face of the unexpected, is an inspiration." He raised his eyes, and Sophia saw in them not the arrogance of before, but genuine contrition and newly acquired respect. Sophia looked at him, a small, sad smile on her lips. "We all were, prosecutor. Truth has winding paths, but now we need to be the lighthouses. Mr. Vasconcelos needs to be found, and this corruption network. We need to unravel it completely." She stood up, her posture firm, determination radiating from her. "I want your team to start immediately. Search every corner of his office and residence, every document, every email, every conversation. Leave no stone unturned." Almeida nodded vigorously, energy returning to his eyes. "It will be done, Your Honor. I have already alerted the police. They are on their way to City Hall and Vasconcelos's house." He paused, his expression serious. "This case, it's bigger than we imagined, isn't it?" Sophia sighed, an unsettling premonition tightening her chest. "Much bigger, prosecutor. What we saw today was just the tip of the iceberg. The incrimination of Donna Ilara was an act of calculated cruelty, but also a distraction. We need to understand what they were really trying to hide." Hours later, late in the afternoon, Sophia was in her office, reviewing Donna Ilara's case documents, searching for any clue that might have gone unnoticed. The door opened and Almeida entered, his face pale and eyes wide. In his hands, he held a small, dark-covered notebook that looked old. "Your Honor, we found this at the bottom of a secret drawer in Vasconcelos's office. It's not a common diary. It contains codes, numbers, names, and a date." Sophia took the notebook, feeling a shiver. The date marked on a page was 10 years prior. Below it, a series of symbols and a name. The Guardian. "What is the Guardian?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. Almeida shook his head, his lips tight. "We don't know. But the police found something else. A secret bank account with millions in transactions in the name of a charity foundation that apparently is presided over by Dr. Augusto, the respected president of the city council. An electric shock ran through Sophia. Dr. Augusto, the man who always presented himself as a pillar of the community, a philanthropist, a mentor to many young lawyers, including herself in her early career years. His warm smile, his wise advice, all seemed an elaborate facade. The revelation hit Sophia with the force of a blow. Vasconcelos's ambition was just one piece in a much larger game, and the true manipulator was much closer and far more influential than anyone could imagine. This was the unexpected turning point, the bitterest truth justice would have to face. Corruption had infiltrated the highest echelons, disguised under the cloak of respectability. The fight for truth, which Sophia thought was just beginning, had just become infinitely more dangerous and personal. The revelation about Dr. Augusto hit Sophia like a tidal wave, destabilizing the ground beneath her feet. The man she so admired, mentor of her first steps in her career, now revealed himself to be the center of a web of corruption. His welcoming smile distorted in her mind, transforming into a mask of deceit. It was a pain that went beyond the professional, a personal betrayal, a blow to her faith in goodness. A knot tightened in her throat, a mixture of anger and deep sadness. "Dr. Augusto," Sophia repeated, her voice almost inaudible, her eyes once determined, now disillusioned. "It can't be. He was always an example of integrity, a pillar of the community." Almeida, observing the judge's anguish, nodded. "I know, Your Honor. The surprise is immense, but the evidence, the secret account, the charity foundation for money laundering, the name, the Guardian, in Vasconcelos's notebook, it all points to him." He handed the notebook to Sophia, who took it with trembling hands. The dark cover seemed to carry dark secrets. Sophia leafed through the pages. "The Guardian. What does that mean?" she murmured, the complexity of the plot frightening, the idea of someone so respected behind it all, almost unbearable. "We're not sure yet," Almeida replied, his voice firmer. "But the police are already thoroughly investigating the foundation, and we're monitoring Dr. Augusto discreetly so as not to alert him." Sophia closed the notebook, the dry sound echoing. She walked to the window, watching the sunset. The beauty outside contrasted with the darkness that was being revealed. Donna Ilara, the fragile elderly woman, had been a pawn in this macabre game, her innocence almost crushed to protect powerful interests. The image of Ilara, with her trembling smile of relief, ignited a new righteous fury in Sophia's heart. The pain of personal betrayal could not overshadow the need for justice. "We cannot allow his influence to intimidate us, prosecutor," Sophia said, her voice gaining strength, the glint in her eyes returning with intensity. "Justice cannot have double standards. No one is above the law, no matter how respected or powerful they may be." Almeida nodded, admiration in his gaze. "I fully agree. Your Honor, this case is a test for all of us, for the integrity of our system and for our own morality." He paused. "It will be a difficult battle. Dr. Augusto has many allies, and his reputation is almost untouchable. Then we will have to dismantle that reputation piece by piece with the truth," Sophia retorted, turning to him, her posture erect. "We need irrefutable evidence, prosecutor. Every detail, every connection. We cannot leave room for doubt. We need everything about the Guardian, the foundation, the financial transactions, and a plan to approach him without him destroying more evidence." Sophia's determination was contagious. Almeida felt the energy flow, dissipating shame and uncertainty. "Yes, Your Honor. I will mobilize a task force. We will work day and night. Justice for Donna Ilara and for all those harmed by this network will be done, no matter the cost." Sophia looked at the notebook, at the date from 10 years ago. 10 years. How long has this corruption been rooted? How many lives have been affected? We need to go all the way, prosecutor, for Donna Ilara, for all of us. The fight had become personal, yes, but it had also transformed into a crusade for a greater ideal, for a justice that could truly fly on the wings of truth, no matter how painful it might be. The raven had opened the door to an abyss, and now it was their turn to illuminate it. The raven had opened the door to an abyss, and now it was their turn to illuminate it. Sophia and Almeida, side by side, felt the weight of that mission, but also a renewed energy. Night fell over the city, but in the judge's office the lights remained on, a beacon of hope against the darkness of corruption. The prosecutor, with Vasconcelos's notebook in hand, began to draw up a plan. "Your Honor, my team is already on Vasconcelos's trail. He hasn't been found in his office or residence, but we have informants. As for Dr. Augusto, we need to be cautious. He's a powerful man with tentacles everywhere. Any false move could alert him and compromise the investigation." Sophia nodded, her eyes fixed on the void, imagining the extent of the web. Her furrowed brow revealed the depth of her thoughts. "I understand, prosecutor. Discretion is essential, but we cannot hesitate. With every minute, more people could be harmed. More lies could be woven. I want your task force to focus on 3 fronts. First, the meaning of the Guardian and its connection to the date 10 years ago. Second, the charity foundation and all its financial transactions. Third, Vasconcelos's network of accomplices. They can lead us to Augusto or to other pieces of the puzzle." Almeida, once so confident in his own acumen, now listened with a humility that transformed him. His shoulders, previously tense with arrogance, were more relaxed, denoting sincere acceptance. "It will be done, Your Honor. We already have some names of Vasconcelos's accomplices, those he mentioned in the video. We are locating them. Augusto's foundation is already under scrutiny, but it's a complex structure with many layers. It will take time to unravel everything." He paused, his expression serious. "And about the Guardian, the police found references to an old elite group in the city, formed by influential figures who met secretly to protect the community's interests. But the group disbanded many years ago. Could it have been reactivated, or is it something new?" Sophia felt a shiver run down her spine. Her lips tightened into a thin line of concern. "Whatever it is, prosecutor, it's the link. The date 10 years ago must be the mark of something significant. Perhaps the reactivation or the founding of something new under the same name. We need concrete evidence, documents, testimonies, something that directly links Augusto to this network and the embezzlements." She ran a hand through her hair, her mind buzzing. "And Donna Ilara, I need to make sure she is safe, that they don't try to silence or intimidate her again." The concern for the elderly woman was palpable in her voice. Almeida hastened to reassure her, a gesture of respect in his posture. "I have already arranged discreet protection for her, Your Honor. She is with her family, and the police are vigilant. Her safety is a priority." The prosecutor, who once saw the elderly woman as a mere defendant, now saw her as a victim, a symbol of the injustice that needed to be repaired. The change in his perspective was visible on his face, once hardened, now more human and compassionate. In the days that followed, Sophia's office became the epicenter of the investigation. Piles of documents accumulated on the dark wooden table. Reports were read and discussed in low voices. The young judge worked tirelessly, her hours of sleep reduced, driven no longer by personal ambition, but by a sense of duty and a deep compassion that Donna Ilara's case had awakened. She remembered the elderly woman's fragile smile, the silent strength in her eyes, and this propelled her with each new discovery. Every name linked to Augusto's network, every suspicious transaction was a step towards the truth, but also revealed the depth of the corruption, like a swamp that extended far beyond what could be seen. Almeida, for his part, plunged into the investigation with a dedication that surprised everyone on his team. He felt the need to right the wrong, to prove to himself and to Sophia that justice could prevail, even against the most powerful. The relationship between them, once formal and distant, transformed into a partnership of mutual respect and trust. They were 2 pillars, raising the flag of righteousness against an invisible yet terribly powerful enemy whose roots extended throughout the city. A week passed. Vasconcelos remained at large, an elusive shadow, but Almeida's task force began to unravel the complex transactions of Augusto's foundation. They discovered that large sums of money were transferred to offshore accounts in tax havens, and that charity was a facade for illicit investments and money laundering. The name The Guardian began to appear in old documents, in minutes of secret meetings, indicating that it was an informal council composed of prominent figures in the city who made decisions that directly impacted public life, often for their own benefit. The truth was darker than Sophia imagined, and her heart tightened with the dimension of the hypocrisy. The raven had brought light, but the darkness it revealed was vast and deep, threatening to engulf everyone. The fight was just beginning. The fight was just beginning, and with each new day, Sophia felt the weight of that overwhelming truth. The web of corruption, once a distant tangle, now revealed itself as a multi-headed monster, with tentacles extending throughout the city, suffocating faith and hope. In her office, the nights became long and silent, filled only by the rustling of papers and the click of the keyboard. She reviewed every document, every report from Almeida's task force, searching for a glimmer of light in the darkness that Dr. Augusto had created. Prosecutor Almeida, for his part, was immersed in the investigation of the Charity Foundation. Uncovering the layers of money laundering was like peeling an onion, each layer revealing a new complexity, a new trick to divert funds and mask their illicit origin. He noticed Sophia's tired gaze, but also the unwavering flame in her eyes, and this propelled him. "Your Honor," he said one morning, entering the office with a voluminous folder, "we found a pattern. Transfers to offshore accounts always occur after major fundraising events of the Foundation. And there's a name that repeatedly appears as the ultimate beneficiary of some of these accounts, a shell company registered in the Cayman Islands, whose sole shareholder is a lawyer who, curiously, was Dr. Augusto's partner in an old law firm." Sophia took the documents, her eyes scanning the lines with impressive speed. A bitter smile appeared on her lips. "A link, prosecutor. A concrete link. This gives us a clearer direction. And what about the Guardian?" Almeida sighed, sitting across the desk. "That's the hardest part. The references are sparse, almost legendary. It seems the Guardian was not just a group, but an ideology, a code of conduct for a select circle of influential people who considered themselves above the law, the true protectors of the city, deciding its destiny. We found mentions in old diaries of political figures of the time, talking about secret meetings for the greater good. The date, 10 years ago, seems to be the moment when this ideology was revived, or when Augusto took leadership, transforming it into something darker. The judge felt a chill. The idea of a group of people manipulating the city behind the scenes was frightening. And Vasconcelos's accomplices, did they lead us to anything? Yes, we located 2 of them. One is a former City Hall employee, the other, a small businessman who owed money to Vasconcelos. Both are willing to cooperate in exchange for protection and reduced sentences. They confirmed that Vasconcelos acted under direct orders from Augusto, and that Donna Ilara's incrimination was a way to divert attention from a large land expropriation scheme that was about to be revealed. Donna Ilara lived on one of the targeted properties. Sophia's heart tightened. The cruelty of the plot was even greater than she imagined. Ilara was not just a random victim, she was a strategic target. Her life almost sacrificed to protect a multi-million-dollar scheme. The image of the elderly woman, with her unwavering dignity, ignited a new righteous fury in Sophia. "We need more. We need something that directly links Augusto to these orders, prosecutor. Something that cannot be denied, that cannot be undone by his lawyers. Testimonies, documents, recordings. Almeida nodded, the seriousness on his face mirroring Sophia's. We are working on it, Your Honor. The accomplices mentioned a ledger that Vasconcelos kept, with all the details of the operations, including Augusto's orders. They believe he hid it in a safe place, a plan B, in case something went wrong. Our team is searching all known hideouts of Vasconcelos. Hope, previously a thin thread, now strengthened. The ledger would be the irrefutable proof, the key to dismantling the entire network. Sophia looked at the pile of documents, at Almeida's determined face. The fight was arduous, but truth, she knew, had a force of its own, capable of tearing down the highest walls. Justice for Dona Ilara and for all who had been silenced was getting closer, flying on the wings of persistence and courage. The search for Vasconcelos's ledger intensified. Almeida mobilized resources, sending teams to every location mentioned by the accomplices, every hideout. The city seemed to contract under the investigation, the tension palpable in the courthouse corridors. Sophia, in her office, felt every minute as an eternity. She ran her hands through her hair, her gaze fixed on the city map on her desk, marking the locations. With each phone call from Almeida, her heart leaped, sometimes with hope, sometimes with apprehension. Nothing yet, Your Honor, Almeida reported, his voice heavy with frustration. Vasconcelos is more cunning than we thought. He anticipated our moves. The indicated locations are empty or show signs of hasty emptying. Sophia gripped the phone, feeling discouraged. But the image of Dona Ilara, with her silent resilience, prevented her from giving in. We cannot give up, prosecutor. The ledger is the missing piece. He wouldn't risk leaving it just anywhere. Think like him. Where would he keep something so valuable? His plan B? Almeida pondered, the silence stretching. He is vain, Your Honor, and calculating. Perhaps it's not an obvious hiding place. Perhaps something he considered untouchable, above all suspicion. The idea clicked in Sophia's mind. Untouchable, above all suspicion. Where? Her eyes swept the map, stopping at one point. The old city club, a bastion of the elite, frequented by Dr. Augusto and his associates. Vasconcelos, though subordinate, aspired to belong to that circle. The city club, prosecutor, Sophia said, her voice firm, almost a whisper of revelation. It's a place he would respect, that he would see as safe due to its aura of exclusivity. It would never be searched without a specific and difficult-to-obtain search warrant. Almeida hesitated. The club? Your Honor, that's audacious. A stronghold of influential people. A warrant for there would be almost impossible without strong evidence. But we have the evidence, prosecutor, Sophia retorted, her determination growing. We have the testimonies of the accomplices who mentioned a plan B. We have Vasconcelos's history of wanting to impress Augusto, of feeling part of that world. He would hide the most incriminating evidence in a place he considered sacred to the elite. A place Augusto would never allow to be violated. She stood up, her energy renewed. We need a warrant, and we need to be quick. If he senses we're getting close, the book could disappear. Almeida, infected by Sophia's conviction, felt the urgency. Understood, Your Honor. I will prepare the warrant request immediately. It will be a bureaucratic battle, but we will do our best. The line ended, and Sophia remained standing, looking at the map. That city club, with its old walls and imposing windows, held not only secrets, but the key to unraveling a decade of corruption. The fight was about to enter a new phase, riskier and closer to the truth. She knew that Dr. Augusto would not remain idle. The Raven's revelation had exposed the tip of the iceberg, and now they were about to dive into deeper and more dangerous waters. Justice, to be complete, would require unwavering courage. Justice, to be complete, would require unwavering courage. Sophia felt this truth with every fiber of her being as she waited, tension tightening her chest. The hours dragged on, each minute a heavy burden. Almeida, on the other end of the line, described the difficulties. "Your Honor, the warrant request faces fierce resistance. Dr. Augusto's influence is vast. His tentacles reach the highest echelons. There are political pressures. They are trying to prevent the search at all costs." Sophia gripped the phone, her knuckles white. Frustration burned, but the image of Donna Ilara, with her dignified and suffering gaze, was a shield against discouragement. "We cannot retreat, prosecutor. The truth is there. Remind them of what is at stake, the integrity of justice." Almeida, propelled by Sophia's iron conviction, redoubled his efforts. Hours later, as dusk fell, the news arrived, carrying a relief that almost made Sophia collapse. "We got it, Your Honor. The warrant has been issued. The team is on its way to the City Club. I'm heading there now." A deep sigh escaped Sophia's lips. But the tension remained. The confrontation with the raw truth was yet to come. The ostentatious arrival of the police at the imposing City Club caused an uproar. Elite members, accustomed to the impunity of their gilded refuges, watched with incredulity and indignation the movement of patrol cars and agents. Their faces displayed shock and outrage. Almeida, leading the team with a firm posture, displayed the warrant with unwavering authority. Sophia, though unable to be physically present, felt every step of the operation through Almeida's anxious reports, imagining the breaking of that aura of untouchability. The search began, methodical and exhaustive, in the sumptuous rooms, in the private offices, in the nooks that Vasconcelos might have chosen for his Plan B. With each update, hope wavered. "Nothing in the library, Your Honor. Not in the game room either. We are checking the members' personal lockers." Sophia imagined the scene, the embarrassment of the powerful, the deconstruction of a facade that had been erected. This was the moment when justice began to strip away hypocrisy, exposing it to the light. Then Almeida's voice, suddenly choked with contained emotion, broke the silence of Sophia's office. "Your Honor, we found it in Dr. Augusto's private office, inside a camouflaged safe behind a bookshelf of old books. It's a dark, worn, leather-bound book with the inscription, 'The Guardian,' embossed on the spine. It appears to be the ledger." An electric shock ran through Sophia, making her stand up abruptly. It was it, the ledger. The evidence that would unravel years of lies and suffering. "Open it, prosecutor," she whispered, her breath caught, her heart pounding erratically. Almeida described the content page by page with a voice that gained strength with each revelation. Names, dates, values, land expropriation schemes, transfers to offshore accounts, and prominently Dr. Augusto's direct orders to Vasconcelos, including the meticulous incrimination of Donna Ilara. Vasconcelos's handwriting, meticulous and cold, recorded every detail of the plot. The charity foundation as a facade, the accomplices, the manipulation of bids, everything was there, in dark and irrefutable detail. Sophia felt tears well up in her eyes, warm and liberating. They were not of sadness, but of a deep and overwhelming sense of relief and triumph. The truth so arduously sought was finally revealed, written in ink and paper. Donna Ilara, the fragile and resilient elderly woman, would be fully vindicated. Dr. Augusto's mask had fallen once and for all, exposing the face of corruption in its entirety. That book, found in a place that symbolized power and impunity, was the silent cry of justice, a clamor that would echo throughout the city, tearing down the walls of hypocrisy. The Raven had opened the door to truth, and now they had found the most valuable treasure, irrefutable evidence. The climax was not just the discovery, but the confirmation that faith in justice, even in the deepest darkness, had not been in vain. The fight, which seemed endless, finally had a decisive turning point, a beacon of hope that began to shine brightly. The initial wave of elation broke the tension Sophia had carried for weeks. That book, The Ledger, was the irrefutable proof that would dismantle Dr. Augusto's web of corruption. The next day, the news of the Ledger's discovery and Dr. Augusto's arrest reverberated throughout the city like thunder. Newspapers blared audacious headlines, radios and televisions spoke of nothing else. The image of the influential official, once untouchable, being escorted out of the city club, his face pale and dignity shattered, shocked everyone. The city's elite, who once revered him, now viewed him with disdain and shame. In court, Donna Ilara's case was immediately reopened. With the new evidence, the elderly woman's innocence was unequivocally declared. Judge Sophia, seated in her chair, felt a lump in her throat as she read the acquittal sentence. Her voice, once formal, now carried a contained emotion, a mixture of relief and deep satisfaction. Donna Ilara, present in the room, did not cry. Only a faint, tired smile appeared on her lips, and her eyes, once tear-filled with pain, now shone with a serene light of gratitude. She looked at Sophia, a silent nod of recognition, and the judge returned it with a gaze that said, "Justice has been served." Prosecutor Almeida, beside Sophia, felt a wave of redemption. His posture, once marked by arrogance, was now one of humility and purpose. He had been part of the machinery that almost condemned an innocent person, but now he was the instrument of her liberation. That case transformed him, revealing to him the true essence of justice. He approached Donna Ilara, extending his hand. "Donna Ilara, in the name of justice and all of us, I apologize for the injustice you suffered. Your dignity and strength were an inspiration." The elderly woman squeezed his hand firmly, a gesture worth more than 1,000 words. The city, initially in shock, began to breathe an air of renewed hope. Dr. Augusto's downfall was not just the arrest of one man, but the deconstruction of a system of corruption that seemed unshakable. People began to speak openly about other injustices, about the need for more transparency and righteousness. Faith in justice, shaken by so many years of silence, began to be restored. Sophia, in her office, observed the city from the window. The morning sun illuminated the rooftops, and for an instant she imagined the raven, the improbable messenger, flying freely. Her heart was at peace. The ambition that had driven her at the beginning of her career had been replaced by a sense of duty and compassion. She had learned that a judge's true strength lay not only in the application of the law, but in the courage to seek the truth, no matter how obscure or dangerous it might be. Donna Ilara had been the compass that guided her through the darkness. Human connection, altruism, and overcoming had triumphed. Donna Ilara's family embraced her, tears of relief and joy washing away years of anguish. The community united in support, showing that solidarity was stronger than corruption. That case was not just about a theft of artifacts, it was about the soul of a city, about the ability to believe that even when all seems lost, truth finds a way. And, at times, that way is revealed on the wings of the most improbable witness. Justice had flown, and now it landed, firm and victorious, in the hearts and souls of all. The days that followed Donna Ilara's acquittal were filled with a different quietness, a peace that had long been absent from the city. For Sophia, the young judge, the weight on her shoulders had finally dissipated. She watched the sun set from her office window, no longer with the anguish of uncertainty, but with the serenity of one who had fulfilled a greater duty. Ambition gave way to a deeper purpose, to be a beacon of righteousness, a voice for the silenced. Her journey as a judge was just beginning, with the clarity that Donna Ilara's case had carved into her soul. Donna Ilara, for her part, returned to the warmth of her home, to the arms of her family. Her grandchildren, previously marked by sadness and worry, now embraced her with the lightness of joy. The small house, once a stage for silent anxieties, was again filled with laughter and the aroma of fresh coffee. The community, which had supported her with prayers and hope, now visited her to celebrate justice. Neighbors brought flowers and kind words, a testament to the strength of human connection that not even the cruelest injustice could break. Ilara, with her unwavering dignity, accepted each gesture with a gentle smile, her eyes reflecting gratitude for having her honor restored. She was a living symbol of overcoming, proof that truth, however much they try to hide it, always finds its way. Prosecutor Almeida, transformed by the experience, dedicated himself with even greater zeal to his vocation. The arrogance that sometimes defined him had been replaced by genuine humility and an unwavering commitment to ethics. He led the task force that dismantled Dr. Augusto's corruption network, ensuring that all involved were held accountable. The city, once suffocated by the web of influence and dishonesty, began to breathe. New transparency initiatives were proposed, civic participation flourished, and trust in institutions was slowly rebuilt. Donna Ilara's case became a landmark, a constant reminder that vigilance and courage are essential to keep the flame of justice alive. Months passed. The memory of the raven, the unexpected messenger, remained alive. It was not just a curious story, but a powerful metaphor. Truth at times arrives through the most improbable paths, through the quietest voices, through the most unexpected beings. That peculiar locket with the micro SD card was a tangible reminder that justice is not limited to the formal rites of the court, but inhabits the essence of life, manifesting when faith and hope seem to run out. Sophia, on a sunny day, visited Donna Ilara. They sat in the small, flowery garden, under the shade of an old mango tree. Ilara, with a serene gaze, held Sophia's hand. "You are my light, my daughter," she said, her voice soft but full of strength. Sophia, moved, squeezed the elderly woman's hand. "You were my compass. You taught me the true meaning of justice." The altruism, human connection, and overcoming of both intertwined. Justice, after all, was not just a verdict, but the restoration of dignity, the healing of wounds, the reaffirmation that goodness and truth always prevail. And so the city, purified by the light of truth, flourished again, a living testament that even in the densest shadows, hope flies, free and unbreakable, on the wings of the most improbable witness. That meeting in Donna Ilara's flowery garden sealed a silent pact of gratitude and purpose between the two women. Time, which had once seemed to drag with the weight of injustice, now flowed with the lightness of renewal. The city, once plunged into a stupor of distrust, awakened to a new era, where the voice of citizens echoed more strongly and the light of truth dispelled the shadows. Judge Sophia, with a lighter soul and a heart filled with a new kind of strength, dedicated herself with even greater fervor to her vocation. Her office, which had once witnessed her nights of anguish, became a refuge of clarity and determination. She no longer sought merely the cold application of the law, but justice in its purest essence, that which protects the vulnerable and restores faith. Her eyes, once marked by pressure, now radiated a contagious serenity, and her voice, when pronouncing sentences, carried the authority of one who understood the true weight of the scales. She began to mentor young lawyers and interns, sharing not only legal knowledge, but the lessons of humanity that Donna Ilara had taught her. In every case, no matter how small, Sophia sought the story behind the facts, the hidden pain, the hope that needed to be rekindled. Donna Ilara, for her part, flourished in her small private paradise. The garden, once a solitary refuge, was now a meeting point, Her grandchildren, who saw her as a heroine, spent afternoons there, listening to her stories, learning about resilience and the importance of never giving up on the truth. The community revered her, not only for the injustice she had suffered, but for the dignity with which she faced it. She became an informal counselor, a voice of wisdom for neighbors facing their own battles. Her cornmeal cakes, once made in silence, were now shared in lively conversation circles where solidarity strengthened with each laugh. The image of the elderly woman, with her white hair and welcoming smile, was a constant reminder that kindness and faith could move mountains. Prosecutor Almeida, who had walked a path of redemption, continued to be a pillar of the new justice. He implemented ethics and transparency programs in the public prosecutor's office, ensuring that no other case of manipulation went unnoticed. His posture, once rigid, was now permeated by an empathy that made him more effective and respected. He often found himself thinking of the raven, that improbable messenger, and the profound lesson it had brought. That locket, with the micro SD card, was kept with reverence in a safe at the courthouse, a tangible symbol that truth at times defied logic and expectation. The city, at last, breathed. Murmurs of corruption gave way to open debates about governance and accountability. The old city club, once a bastion of hidden power, was transformed into a cultural and community center, its walls now resonating with the joy of children and the creativity of artists, a symbol that spaces once dominated by darkness could be filled with light. The story of Donna Ilara and the Raven became an urban legend, told from generation to generation, a modern fairy tale that taught about the perseverance of justice and the strength of the human spirit. It was not just a story about a theft and an acquittal, but about a community's ability to rise again, to heal its wounds, and to believe that good always finds a way. Sophia and Ilara, in their intertwined lives, were living proof that human connection, altruism, and overcoming were the true pillars of a just society. And so hope, which had flown on the wings of a raven, landed in the hearts of all, never to depart again.